Okay, hello, we are back again to continue where we left off in Curse Site. So how about we get this going and see what happens next with Mion and Guy and Sasa and everything? The next morning, as I rolled around in bed, the scene of me crying in Mion's arms kept looping in my mind. Her warmth felt nice at the time, but now, just thinking about what happened if maybe I want to hide in her bedsheet forever. Would Mion brag to Sasa about it? Oh, goodbye, dear manhood. No, I don't think Mion would be that way, man. I think you, Mion, Sasa, and everything, I mean, over the period of time that you guys have known each other, I think you guys gotten closer, and she's not going to, like, even though you and Mion aren't really, were never really on good terms, I think you've patched up some of that bad connection between you two that you kind of started off on, and I believe some of it is both of your faults on how you started off. You were kind of a jerk, she was kind of a bitch. Well, and I don't think it's really anything in particular. I mean, it's not like you guys, you were just from two different worlds, pretty much. You didn't understand each other. That's all it came from. But I think you guys have gotten friendlier. And part of that reason is definitely Sasa. She helped bridge that gap, you could say. I don't even think Sasa would really... Well, I don't think none of them would really be like... And I don't think this kid has much manhood to really go by either way. You still got a long time in your life, man. Let me try and remember my first task for today. Right. Clean Mion's room. Of course. With a groan, I climbed out of my bedsheet and headed off. When I arrived inside Mion's room, she gave her usual greeting. Guy. Hey. But nothing out of the ordinary so far. Let's pretend last night never happened. Wow, well, that came out sounding really kinky. I don't know about kinky. I didn't get that. And to me, it didn't really sound like that kinky or anything. I mean, there's nothing wrong with crying or anything like that. And being a man or any of that stuff. I mean, if you gotta let it out, let it out. Yeah, it's better to let it out than keeping it in. You keep all that stress bottled up inside, you're just going to die sooner. Guy. Stupid Mion. Just move on already. Yes, I cried. So go ahead and laugh away. I don't think she's gonna laugh, man. I think you're thinking her wrong. I think she's more caring than that, and she's probably more understanding. I mean, I think we heard that she had her parents die too. Right there, you could be a connection. I mean, yes, you're... she has a slightly better life than you do, you could say, in a way. But she is a prisoner to this area, to this place. I mean, does have her own issues. And the difference is when I remember what we learned earlier, she is the reason her parents died. So I think that's actually worse than just your parents dying and not knowing. She is, I would not doubt that she probably cried when her parents died, and partly probably blamed herself for a curse. As I twirled to face Mion, I spotted a set of clothes folded across her lap. These should be a better fit for you, Mion said. In truth, I had already grown used to my oversized clothes. I had given up on ever receiving a new set, least of all from Mion. This meant she had me in her thoughts, and for that, I had only one response. Thank you, Mion. Mion tossed the clothes at my face, and I headed for the change room. At last, I could say goodbye to these shoes that slipped out whenever I walked too fast. No more rolling up my sleeves 100 times a day. I stripped off these old clothes and put on the ones Mion had prepared for me. The new shirt had sleeves that ended right on my wrists. These new pants reached down to my ankles, which hopefully meant no more tripping over them and face planting onto the carpet. The shoes fit just right, too. Well, at least now you finally have some clothing that actually fits. You're not, as you said, you're not going to be tripping over yourself. Even without asking for my measurements, Mion's estimates were spot on. We did see each other almost daily, after all. I smiled at the thought. Locke might see me as a nobody, but I happen to be Mion's special servant. At least, I hope so. I returned into Mion's room with my chin raised. What do you think? Mion nodded in approval. I could have sworn she even flashed a hint of a smile. When she opened her mouth to speak, I knew praises were imminent. Send them my way, Mion. 3 oranges, 6 apples, warm water, 9 incense sticks. Well, it never hurt to dream. Goddesses must have smiled upon me, as I had somehow managed to survive for 10 years in this temple. With Sasa by my side and, alright, I guess Mion as well, I have scavenged just enough sanity to get by. Holy shit, so 10 years have passed? This is like an advancement. You know, advanced 10 years. One morning, Locke summoned every member of the temple into his chambers. In my decade of slavery here, not once has this taken place. Aside from a few whispers, the hall remained silent while people gathered. They must have shared my sense of unease. Among the crowd of guards and servants, I spotted Mion standing next to Sasa. Having them by my side would help settle my nerves, but squeezing through the people would draw too much attention, so I chose to keep still. I wonder what the hell is going on here. The advancement in years is something, though. It's like, okay, we're advancing 10 years into the future. So, everything must have went by pretty well, but 10 years, wow. So, dude's at least 20 years older. Man, Sasa must be a lot older now, though. I wonder if they decided to go, if they're even going to show the characters. They probably look exactly the same. I wouldn't be surprised. Locke sat on his throne behind the curtains as always. Once everyone had arrived, he cleared his throat to speak. As of today, we are at war with Westaria. Gasps echoed across the hall, coming mostly from the guards. They were, after all, the most likely to be sent to war. We servants knew only how to handle brooms, not spears. Everyone knew East and Westaria had been butting heads, so this war announcement hardly came as a surprise. To be honest, unless Westaria invaded our temple, I doubt it would affect me at all. Westaria carries a treasure that'll bring great wealth to our nation, Locke continued. We must obtain it by any means necessary. Okay. I mean, you think about wars and how they're usually planned out. Well, not planned out, but the reasons behind them. Usually it's resources, land, something in particular. There's usually some sort of gain that you're expecting out. You just don't go to war to go to war. Well, not always. I guess you could say maybe not always. I guess there are some, in history there might be some like war tribes that literally just go to war because they love to kill. That's what they're gaining. They just live to fight. So I guess maybe there are some, but most civilizations probably don't. There's usually a reason. It's either expansion, to destroy an enemy of some sort. Maybe someone is threatening them, and they feel the response. So as a response, a monetary gain, of course. Usually there's something you expect out of a war. Something. You don't just really go to war to go over. So it looks like treasures. Some sort of treasure. I'd never heard of Westaria possessing any treasure, but it must be something that would help the king score a mountain of gold. My parents sold me here for the same reason. Gold, gold, gold. I might only be a year away from turning 18, but I still hated adults. So he was only 8? He said he was 10 years. So he was 8 when he got here. Because he says he's a year from turning 18. So, wait, he was 7? I don't know. I'm confused on the age bracket, because I thought it mentioned like 10, unless it was just an estimate of her age was 10. Ah, shit, man. I wish I remember. So, but at least we have his age here. He's almost 18. I've invited Queen Hydriana from a meeting in our temple tonight. When she passes Melody Way, we'll begin our ambush and take her hostage, Locke said. She'll have soldiers with her, but fear not, for Mion has performed a ritual to ensure our victory. So you invited the queen to your temple and you're going to ambush her? Okay. So you must both not be officially at war yet? That they know of, that Westaria knows of. But that will be your declaration by taking her hostage. The guards trained concerned looks, whether they succeeded or not. Tonight, there would be bloodshed. Still, none of them dared to voice their discontent, as doing so might cost them their heads before sunset. Well, isn't that also part of their job? I mean, here's the whole concept. If you join the military, you can get positions that really aren't on the front of the battlefield, but the military is a killing thing. If you're afraid to kill anyone, the military is not for you. Even that's just how it is. The military is meant to kill. That's what it is. It's meant to kill. At some point in time, someone is going to die. Huh. It looks like they might have altered the looks a little bit. The graphics, they looks like they might be slightly altered. Sasa doesn't look as... she looks like she might be altered a little bit. They might have tried to age her a little. And same as Mion. Looks like she's not as young. I cast a glance at Mion, who was staring at her shoes. Locke said she had performed a ritual for tonight's battle, so she must have known about it. But she never gave me a heads up. She probably told only Sasa, which, I confess, stung a little. Sasa rubbed a hand over Mion's back. The king had forced Mion to participate in this evening's slaughter, yet I still only cared for my own petty feelings. Locke dismissed the audience, and with heavy strides the guards and servants resumed their duties. Mion pulled Sasa toward her room, and I followed them inside. Staying in Melody Way tonight will be dangerous. Mion tugged Sasa's sleeve. You should hide here with us until sunrise. I deserve a smack for thinking the war was no business of mine. It only occurred to me that Sasa's home sat right in tonight's battle zone. I no longer even deserved to be around her. Sasa gently lowered Mion's hand. There's no way I can leave my children to save myself. Just bring your kids along, I said. And all the other villagers. The king would never allow it. Sasa put one hand on my shoulder and the other on Mion's. We'll lock our doors tonight, so there's no need to worry. I never knew Dords were immune to swords, explosions, and whatever else soldiers decided to bring tonight. Mion clung onto Sasa's sleeve again, probably feeling as unconvinced as I did. It would really suck if Sasa died. I like her as a character. She's nice. Sasa made the three of us hold hands and formed a triangle. We did this a lot as children, but stopped once Mion and I became teenagers. Perhaps Sasa thought it might embarrass us. To be honest, I wish we never stopped. See my hands? Sasa asked. I felt her fingers shaking in between mine, yet her smile never waned. Of course I'm terrified, but I'd rather die as a person than to survive as a monster. I imagined how it must feel to be in Sasa's shoes. If I cowered in the temple, then learned the next morning that Melody Way had been burned to the ground, my heart too would be charred black. You know, I had a fight with my husband one morning, Sasa said. It was over the dumbest thing, too. He then died in a work accident on the same night. I'll always regret parting with him that way. Okay, so your husband died, so you're... you didn't, run away from your husband never ran away from you or anything. So, you're a widow. I don't know if they ever mentioned that. I know that they mentioned that she had children and stuff like that, so you would assume that she got married at some point. But it didn't sound like she was still married, so I don't think they ever mentioned what happened to the husband before. Well, now we know. He died in an accident, so she's a widow. I don't even think they ever mentioned that she was a widow. I don't know if they ever said, or she ever said. Whenever Mion and I quarreled, Sasa would always force us to make up. At least I understood why. Why am I suddenly telling you this? Tears surfaced in Sasa's eyes. Oh, I'm burdening you angels with my silly problems. I'm sorry, you two. Aw, there's tears coming down. Sasa shed tears in front of me for the first time. Yet even now, she forced a shaky smile for my sake as well as Mion's. All she ever thought about was us. If I had grown up faster, maybe I could have helped her shoulder those burdens. In recent years, whenever Sasa smiled, I could spot wrinkles on her cheeks. The skin under her eyes had been looking more and more worn as well. When I was little, I used to always overhear the guards talking about how pretty Sasa was. Those conversations died out several years ago. Of course, Sasa would always be comparable to a goddess in my eyes, but time truly waited for no one. And that really is pretty much particular for women. Once they get up to a specific point in their life, the age point definitely takes a hit and is very noticeable. Sadly, that's how it is. Their beauty only lasts for so long. Well, at least outwards beauty. You can talk about their personality and other things like that, if you consider that that type of thing beautiful or not. Depends on person, I guess. Sasa told us her secret, knowing she might die tonight. I was old enough to understand that, so please start thinking of yourselves for a change. Hell yeah, man, you definitely. You're pretty much almost 18, man. After wiping her tears, Sasa squeezed our hands in hers. Pray for me tonight, both of you. Will you two think about me? I'll be okay. Sasa pinched Mion's cheeks. You're forced to play a role in this war, but don't blame yourself, okay? As Mion and I grew up, Sasa had been pinching our faces less and less. Seeing her do so again filled my heart with nostalgia. In Sasa's eyes, we would probably always be children. I loathed being called a kid, but for her, I would make an exception. As Sasa rose to leave, Mion darted to the door and blocked her path. Sasa gave Mion's ear a gentle pull. Please don't do this to me. With gritted teeth, Mion shook her head. She looked like a spoiled child refusing to let a friend go home. Still, right now, I in fact really wanted to bar the doors with her. Sasa's smile vanished. Mion, stop that at once. Those words made Mion jolt, and she stepped out of the way. Even when we were spoiled brats, Sasa rarely lost her patience with us. Just by putting on a serious expression, she could make us obey her, and 10 years later, that was still the case. Hey man, she cares about her kids enough, man. I mean, it's her responsibility. You guys are being a little selfish here. I know you guys don't want her to leave. You care about her, but she has another life outside of this that I wonder if they've ever even met her kids. I mean, they never really mentioned any of that because there was a 10-year skip. But they might not even know they're her kids at all, for all we know. I mean, Sasa, she has, it's her family, you think about it. What is more important, friends or family? Usually family comes first. And they are her offspring. She, of course, is going to be worried about them. I don't know how old they are. They never really make a mention of age for those. Mion's lips twitched, looking like she wanted to cry. Sasa embraced her and whispered comforting words into her ear. It's okay, little angel. There's no way I'll die before getting you two's wedding invite. Oh, shit! Still joking around, I see. Please, Sasa, stop teasing and worrying about us at the same time like this. Nobody would fault you for acting spoiled once in a while. Once Sasa left the room, Mion told me what to gather for her next ritual. No way would we simply pray for luck to be on our side. Too much had happened to us both for that to be reliable. Once I finished gathering the items needed for the ritual, I dashed back toward Mion's room. Anxiety numbed my nerves, causing me to stumble in the corridor and spill the fruit bowl. I picked the fruits back up, cursing as I noticed the dents on some of the apples. Those were the only ones left in stock. With no time left to buy new ones, I shoved them back into the bowl and ran back into Mion's room. Sorry, I messed up. I put down the bowl and showed Mion the dented apples. Mion sighed. They are small dents, at least. I repeatedly slapped myself across the head. Mion forced my arm down. Guy, I've been doing this all my life. I'll make it work, so stop blaming yourself. When I first met Mion, she knew nothing about comforting others. I wanted to hug her for having become so considerate, but Sasa took priority right now. Once I lit the incense sticks, Mion went to work. The floor rumbled so much I could feel my brain bumping against my skull. Mion clutched her chest and curled into a ball. I had seen this happen from time to time during rituals as of late, but we still had no idea why. If she kept this up, I feared I might lose her before the day ended. I had a feeling that, these spells that she does are taking a toll on her. And one of these days it's probably going to kill her. When I reached in to interrupt Mion, she slapped my hand away. My breath clogged in my throat as I wondered if I should force her to stop, but ceasing the spell would cost Sasa her life. If anything happened to Sasa, Mion might throw off her hat and curse me on the spot. Mion stopped chanting, and I held her just before she collapsed onto the carpet. She pulled away from me and pounded her fists against the floor. The vision was all blurry again. When have I become so useless? That's on me, I said, choking back tears. It's because I ruined those apples. Mion shook her head. You know this had been happening to me for a while now. These rituals are becoming more and more difficult. Am I losing my powers? If that meant Mion could say goodbye to that hat of hers, I would welcome it. Locke might have a different reaction, though. In my years of service, I had noticed Mion's mood could affect her powers. The king had forced her to support his war, and now her dearest friend might be paying the price. That could explain why her spells were faltering. Mion pulled her arm back, looking ready to punch the floor again. I seized her wrist to stop her from breaking her knuckles. So, is Sasa going to be okay? It's me we're talking about, Mion said. She'll be fine, I just wish I had enough power to protect the whole village. Indeed, even with Mion telling me Sasa would survive, I found no cause for celebration. I wondered how many lives would be sacrificed tonight in the name of greed. As the sun descended, I sat alongside Mion with our backs against the wall. The birds croaked outside as they always did. For them, this was the start of another ordinary night. Mion tilted her head as she dozed off yet again. I pulled out a blanket from the closet and draped it over her. She breathed peacefully as I waited in silence for the war to commence. What was Sasa up to? I imagined her sitting in the corner of the living room with her arms wrapped around her children. As she screamed on the inside, she would tell her kids there was nothing to worry about. Sasa was Sasa, even at a time like this. I heard an explosion coming from the village. On any other day, I might have mistaken the noise for fireworks. From this far, the blast sounded faint, allowing Mion to sleep right through it. How I wish I could do the same and be spared from this terror. I cupped both hands over my ears in hopes of blocking out the noise. There should be no way for me to hear any screams from this far, but I swore I heard them ringing in my head. If Locke's army fell, The Westarians would be banging on the temple doors in a matter of hours. So much for the war having no effect on me. I wanted to flee the temple, run as far away from the noise as possible. Mi-On could come along, but I knew she would refuse. No way would she budge until she knew Sasa was okay. Oh, goddess, please spare the life of this coward. Oh, plus Mi-On and Sasa as well. Not too much of an ask, I prayed. The next morning, Mi-On shook me awake. Well, Sasa, shriveled with her kids inside the war zone, I had managed to snooze through the entire night. The blanket I gave Mi-On was now draped over me instead. King Lok summoned us again, Mi-On said. I threw off my blanket and followed her toward the throne room. Mi-On's hands quivered as she walked. I wanted to hold them and calm her, but my hands were shaken just as badly. If anything happened to Sasa, the Westarians had no need to battle, for I swore the king would die by my own hands. Mi-On and I arrived inside Lok's chamber. Guards and servants filled the hall just like yesterday, but there seemed to be less of them this morning. Did some of the soldiers die last night? I gulped at the possibility. Mi-On and I surveyed the hall in hopes of spotting Sasa. Her clothing stood out from everybody else's, so she would be easy to locate. I scanned my eyes across the room 3 times, but she was nowhere in sight. It's early, so I bet she's still at home, that's all, I said, Mi-On nodding, shuffling a step closer toward me. Once everyone had gathered, Lok began to speak. Contrary to Mi-On's forecast, Queen Herodian managed to escape last night. He turned to face Mi-On, who stared at the red carpet to avoid his gaze. I wonder if that happened because of her second casting. The second thing she did to try to save Sasa. Maybe. I had no interest in knowing about what happened to the Queen of Westaria. Hurry up and dismiss us already. With Mi-On's power no longer stable, I need to go and check up on Sasa right away. The king ordered us to resume our duties, and I immediately snuck out. Mi-On stayed back in the temple, waiting for my good news. I sprinted along the street until my sides cramped up, and I restored to jogging with a grimace. By the time I reached Melody Way, sweat had glued my shirt against my chest. As I gasped for breath, I looked around the village for remains. Bodies of both East and Westarian soldiers littered the road. Neither side could really be labeled victorious. The reek of their corpses forced me to cut my nose. Guards as well as civilians carried the bodies away on stretchers. Thank goodness Mi-On stayed in the temple. Her ritual contributed to this mess, and she had no need to see that in person. A fair number of homes have been burnt to ashes. Even with their fires put out, the smoke continued to sting my eyes. Those explosions I heard last night must be responsible for this. Even after all these years, I still had no idea which house belonged to Sasa. I wanted to knock myself over the head, as if doing so would suddenly make me know where to look. So you've never been to Sasa's house? Alright, she's never invited you over? As a guard walked by, I waved him over. He glared at me, probably annoyed that he was being bossed around by a servant. That lady who performs in our temple, which house is hers? I asked. What? How should I know? The guard frowned. You think I'm some kind of stalker? Useless. I wanted to bark out instead. I ran in hopes of finding someone who might be able to help. Perhaps one of these civilians might know. I heard bells ringing behind me. The exact sound Sasa made whenever she moved her arms. Looked like she had found me first. Who cared if we failed to kidnap the queen? Me had saved Sasa, and for that, I owe her a hug. I spun around expecting to greet Sasa, but I met an unfamiliar face instead. This woman I saw wore the same clothes as Sasa, so she too must be a bellstress. Those bells on her arms produced the same noise, which resulted in the mix-up. I tugged the woman's sleeve. Hey, you know Sasa, right? Have you seen her around? You mean Miss I got handpicked by the king himself? No, haven't seen her. The woman swung her free arm and strode off. Joke's on me for thinking all Belstresses are kind heart. I think she's just jealous. That's all it really is. You know, she probably gets paid more and other things like that, so she's better off. Of course they're going to be jealous. I mean, it's their job, and she probably has a consistent pay, and she's consistently there. She has a stable income. A pair of guards bumped into my arm as they shuffled past me, carrying a body on a stretcher. Oh no. The corpse's arm dangled from underneath the cloth. I swore my heart shattered when I saw those bells attached to the arm sleeves. Strands of hair peeked out from inside the cloth as well. The color resembled that of Sasa's hair far too much. Calm down, Guy. You had mistaken the Belstress earlier as Sasa, too. This must be another one of your little blunders, silly Guy. With trembling hands, I reached for the cloth. One of the soldiers slapped my hands aside. The cloth is here for a reason. I'm doing this for your own good. I imagine what kind of state the carcass was in. Perhaps the skin had been charred beyond recognition. It might be my mind playing tricks, for a second I thought the flesh smelled like chicken. The thought almost made me vomit. Tell me that's not Sasa. Her entire family's been struck by a stray bomb, the soldier said. Are you deaf? I said, tell me that's not Sasa. The soldier dodged my gaze, and that confirmed it for me. My knees almost buckled as I watched them dump Sasa's corpse into a corner where all the bodies were being piled. That sucks. I really liked Sasa. I mean, we still don't have confirmation that he looked at it, but, you know, the guard did say, you know, a stray bomb, so that means all her kids are dead too. That's quite sad. I mean, she was a very interesting character. I liked her. She kind of held the whole thing together with the two and got them to where they were. These guards acted as if they were taking out the garbage. I had no idea who those other corpses were, but Sasa deserved better than this. They're guards. They're soldiers, man. They've probably seen death multiple times. Them, unless they know him personally, and they were actually emotionally attached to someone. A body is a body, and she might mean more to you than she means to them. But they're just doing their job cleaning up, and special treatment is usually only given to those in high positions, or maybe they might give special treatment to someone they know. No, Mion said things would turn out okay. Did the ritual fail because I had spoiled those apples? The possibility sapped the strength from my legs, and I leaned against a lantern post for support. Sasa. How are you going to tell Mion? Mion is going to be sad. I lost track of how much time I had spent walking around Melody Way. If luck caught me slacking, I might be executed, but going back would mean having to tell Mion about Sasa. Compared to that, death might be a nice way out. Eventually I lumbered my way back into the temple. As I paused outside Mion's room, I imagined what her reaction to the news would be. I thought made me want to run away. With a sigh, I reached for the door handles. The doors felt so damn heavy today, I almost needed to use both arms just to slide them open. The second I walked in, I thought Mion would pounce at me and demand to know what happened. Instead, I found her laying on the floor. Her heavy breathing told me she had not simply fallen asleep. I crouched beside Mion and slipped a hand under her veil. Her forehead felt warm enough to boil an egg. She must have been holding back this fever since morning. I should have checked up on her before I left. As I rose to get help, Mion held onto my sleeve. Guy. Hearing Mion say my name normally made my day. This time around, the felt like a claw ripping down my neck. "Tell me Sasa's okay," Mion said. "Tell me." Now I knew how that guard felt when I forced him to confirm Sasa's death. I opened my mouth, but failed to produce any words. So long as I kept quiet, I felt as if there might still be hope. Mion bit her lip, and I knew she had already figured it out. "But I saw her alive and well in my vision. Did those spoiled apples anger the goddesses?" My first thought was to try and defend myself. That pretty much exposed me as the filth that I was. If blaming each other could bring back Sasa, I would argue with Mion until my throat tore to pieces. Did my blunder really ruin the ritual? If so, no amount of apology would suffice. With tears brimming, I brushed off Mion's arm and fled the room. After telling a servant to call the doctor, I locked myself into the nearest toilet and bawled. I hoped nobody sat in the other cubicles, or they could hear me for sure. By the time I came out of the bathroom, afternoon had already settled in. I missed several cleaning duties, but lucky for me, Locke had bigger issues to attend to right now. That night, I returned into Mion's room and found her asleep on the floor. If she wanted to yell at me until sunrise, so be it. Anything to at least lift her spirits a little. It killed me to see her sweating under a blanket like this. The towel on Mion's head had dried up, so I dunked it in the bowl next to her. When Mion got sick as a child, Sasa would stay overnight and watch over her. I thought Mion might have even fainted sickness a few times, so Sasa would stick around. None of this would ever happen again, but I put the towel back onto Mion's forehead, knowing the duty now belonged to me. Memories of Sasa kept playing in my head. If I forced them to stop, I feared one day I might forget her face. The guard said Sasa's entire family perished in an explosion. Aside from Mion and I, there was nobody left around to mourn for her. Judging from the smears on Mion's cheeks, I knew she had been crying all afternoon. The sight of those tears marks made me want to weep again. If I could shed her share of tears, I would gladly do so until I turned blind. I snapped from my trance when I noticed a figure standing on the veranda. Absorbed in thought, I had failed to see him until now. Crap, how long has he been standing there? He looked to be a boy around my age when I had first arrived in this temple. The flower panels adored his blue attire suggested he hailed from West Taria. Is he an assassin? He donned shoulder plates just like the ones West Taria soldiers wore. If this boy belonged in the army, he must be the youngest member yet. Even his clothes seems several sizes too big for him. In the past, seeing someone from my home might have excited me, but East and West Taria were at war. Did this guy come to assassinate Mion, the treasurer of East Taria? For one thing, I knew he had zero interest in the likes of me. I spotted a blade tied to the belly of his belt. Maybe I should call the guards for help, but running now would mean leaving Mion alone with this guy. If I yelled, he might become agitated. Please, Sasa, lend me the strength to become Mion's knight. This room had no weapons for me to use, so I pulled the towel off Mion's head and waved it around like a blade. The Westarian snickered at me, and to be honest, I could hardly blame him. Mion staggered out of bed. She must have woke when I took the towel off her. If this guy came to assassinate Mion, could he have picked another date? Give us at least one day to mourn for our loss. Mion stepped in front of me, showing more poise than I managed to muster. I wanted to take a step forward, but my legs jittered and froze me in place. Chill out. I only came to deliver a message, the Westarian said. His voice sounded like it belonged to a child, so that confirmed my suspicions about his age. The Westarian pointed at Mion. East Taria will continue to use you for the war. But now that in the West, we have a treasure of our own. Did he mean somebody in West Taria also possessed the cursed site? Back when I lived there, I had never heard of such a person. There will be endless bloodshed if you remain here, the Westarian said to Mion. 3 nights from now, I'll wait for you in the forest outside Melody Way. There's someone who will be keen to meet you. The Westarian leaped over the railing and vanished into the shallows. With the boy gone, I folded my arms and grunted in an attempt to act tough. Yeah, you better run. I'll go, Mion said. paying zero attention to my cool act. This smells like a trap no matter how you look at it. I clasped Mion's arms. A trap for Westario to possess your powers. Mion lowered my hands. That boy speaks the truth. There's indeed another person out there with the cursed sight, and she's been tampering with my spells. That's why your powers have become unstable. Mion nodded. I need to meet this person. I wonder if... I have a suspicion. I wonder if it is Guy's sister. I'm just going to put it out there. Guy's sister. Is it? That's what I wonder. In recent years, Mion's spells did appear to be faltering. We thought her powers might be on the decline, but now we knew the real reason. Mion's fevers after each ritual had been worsening too. If this Westarian kept resisting Mion's spells, they might wipe each other out. Did this mean the Westarian was responsible for Sasa's death too? I clenched my fist as I imagined pounding this person's face into jelly. Mion leaned forward and taped her hand against my chest. I'm sorry for blaming you about Sasa. If I was more capable, she could have been saved. I'm only going at causing death and destructing. You're letting the Westarian's words get to you, I said. Mion shook her head. I've killed even my parents with the cursed sight. By the time people figured out how my powers worked, so many more had already fallen. I'm coming to the conclusion that the one with the other powers is Guy's sister. That's the conclusion I'm coming to, and Guy's sister is the reason his parents died, because I think they said that, if I remember earlier, that they did not know the reason why the parents died. That might be the reason right there. I think that might be the conclusion, because she was adopted into the temple, and just like Mion here is part of the temple here. It might be the same situation. That's my conclusion at this moment in time. Out of everything we've been produced with on who this mysterious person might be, it might be a character we've already been introduced with a little bit, or we've talked about a little. On my first day in the temple, Mion had supposedly killed a child who had flipped her veil out of curiosity. His mother had been executed partly by Mion's hands as well. It's not your fault. I could think of no other empty words to say. Out of all the servants, Mion referred to only me by name. I thought that meant I understood her best. But nights like these reminded me that I in fact knew nothing. Mion wanted to escape from this temple. I had no right to get in the way. Compared to freedom, my company meant nothing to her. In the end, I was but another servant. Alright, I think I'm going to end it off here. Well, I don't know how close we are, but we might be. It seems like we're really close to the end. I mean, we've had a character die, Sasa. So who knows? We might be ending it in the next episode. But I will end it off here. I want to thank you guys for watching. This was actually a pretty sad episode. A pretty sad one. I really liked Sasa, and I didn't expect them to jump that far into the future either. I guess we'll find out in the next episode if my suspicion on who this other person is. I have a suspicion that it's Guy's sister. That is my suspicion. That's the conclusion I have come to. Guy's sister. And that she was the one who killed the parents. And that's why she was adopted into the temple, just like how Mion is, part of the temple in East. Well, guys, I want to thank you for watching this. If you want to, feel free to subscribe to keep updated on this series, as well as plenty of others. In the description box, I will have a link to the game if you want to check it out yourself. I will also have a link to where you can check out more of my stuff if you want to do that. Again, guys, I want to thank you all for watching this, and you all have a great day.